Hey folks, it's Tom, your frugal prepper. Uh, we'll talk a little bit about, I've had a couple of rifle training classes now, and some things that I've learned about fighting with my rifle and using it, and how it fights and how I fight with it, and improvements that I need to make, some changes I need to do. Um, it's really interesting when you get out there and actually train and practice with your gear, and more so training, because training forces you to get out there past your comfort zone a little bit and try to start doing some stuff. And you fumble and you mess up, but you also learn a lot. And training, you can't be afraid to fumble and mess up, as long as you don't want to commit any egregious safety violations, but you're going to fumble around with certain things. um, but then you practice those things and you come back and take training again and you're better. um, so this is my SBR, um, the registered short barreled rifle. I have a tack stamp for it. So before you can bolt a short rifle, a short barrel, onto a rifle with an actual real stock and not one of those little pistol brace pretend to stock things, um, you have to get a tack stamp for it. So I've done that. Um, so the rifle functioned fine, and this is just a cheap Palmetto State Armory upper lower bolt. I mean, it functioned 100% reliable, and it's been a good rifle that way. But I have my sling in a single point configuration hooked back here, and that sucks. It's a single point sling's great if maybe you just had a patrol carabine and you had to wear it for a few minutes while you were engaging a suspect, and then you took it off. But if you have to like run and gun and fight with your rifle, um, and you need to just be able to drop it and have it go into place, this sucks. Number one is, even with the short barrel rifle, it you're firing and you drop it to go for your handgun or whatever. This baby will hit you right in the boys every time. And then it's swinging around down there while you're running, and it's banging into your knees. And even though it's a light rifle, that hurts. When you kneel down, it goes straight into the dirt every time. So, and it's hard to make that transition where you throw it over your side. The 2 point configuration works much better for me. And I have this hooked to the outside. A lot of times that people hook them to the inside, but I just find I'm a big guy, and I want this to get out there past my belly and aim out a little bit. And having this in a little tighter works better for me. I can just come up and I'm right on. And I normally have my stock adjusted out to where I keep it. And then this is right up here by my shoulder. And so really, one-handed, I can just bring this up, right? And it's right here in my shoulder, right here. And then boom. Um, in fact, that needs to be out one more click. There. Right in my shoulder. Boom. Right. And so um, so that's nice. And you really don't want to fire off chicken wing. You want to put that arm back down before you actually get on target. But um, so that works well. Um, and then you can just be firing and drop your rifle and go for a handgun or whatever, and it doesn't swing down and hit you where it counts. Um, my red dot sucks, and it's not so much that this red dot sucks. I don't know. But what I was constantly having problems with, and I thought it was just this cheap red dot, was I would see like two or three little dots, or There were 5 little dots, a little pattern of dots, and they were moving around, and I didn't know which dot was the real dot to use on my target, and the real dot would change, and so my point of impact would be off. And I thought, I just have a crappy red dot. Well, no, I found out that if you have an astigmatism, that can happen, and I actually have a severe astigmatism. So red dots don't work for me. And it gets a little worse when I look through my bifocals at it than if I look through the top of my glasses at it, but it still happens. And it still happens with both eyes. Not so much with this eye, it's not as bad with this eye, but it still happens. And so I don't think it's so much that this red dot won't hold zero, I just don't see it well enough. I was at the gun store and I was looking at a bigger, like, red dot that has a circle with a dot in the middle. I still look through it through my bifocals and it looks all fuzzy, but it looks pretty clear looking at it through the top. And that's like $260 or something. And so I started doing some more research today, and I'm actually thinking I might end up going with a uh, a 1x scope. It's like a scope, but it has no magnification, and then it has the radical of the scope etched into the glass, and then it lights up that etching in the glass, that radical, so it doesn't have a laser that's reflected off the glass back to your eye, which is what messes it up when you have an astigmatism. You're actually looking at an illuminated radical, and it's supposed to work a lot better than a red dot for people with astigmatism, but it still is illuminated and you can still see the dot, and you still have brightness settings. You can still just put the dot of the radical on your target and fire. Um, so I'm thinking I'm going to go with that. I'm looking at the Vortex one, and it's like $249, but I got to do something about my optics. But iron sights, I don't tend to have that problem. I just turn off the dot and use my irons, but I want the rapid acquisition of the dot, so I have to change that up. Um, and the other thing is, I really need an ambidextrous safety. I'm left-handed, and so my instructor was left-handed as well. But he had ambidextrous safety and an ambidextrous mag release. So I might invest in both of those, but I'm definitely going to get the safety because I have to come around and go like that when I'm coming up on target, and then come around, go like that when I'm coming off target. And that just takes that much longer, right? And there's another left-handed guy in the class, and he was like, "Oh, I just shoot like this. I just put my hand on here and shoot like that." Yeah, I mean, that works in a pinch, but that's not as comfortable. It's not as easy to get as good of a trigger pull like that. So I'm going to make this ambidextrous. I'm not sure. I don't think you can just flip this around and do it in the other direction because it's got these little things that stop it. So you actually have to have both things. But I'm just going to invest in an ambidextrous safety and get that taken care of. And it sucks because this safety is just, it works so nice and smooth. I felt some of these that are just really gritty and crappy. This one is just so nice and smooth. So I got to find an ambidextrous safety that works that smoothly. The ambidextrous mag release, I might need that. I mean, if I'm firing right-handed, I can reach up there and press that, no problem, right? And if I'm firing left-handed, I normally just hit it like this. But I'm finding when this door is down, like this, it's a little harder to hit. So I'm going to see if they make a mag release button that sticks out a little farther than that for hitting it. I think that might work better for me because that's kind of what I'm used to doing. But, I mean, other than that, the rifle, it worked fine. I learned a lot going through the motions of how to change from right-handed to left-handed, right-handed to left-handed shooting, shooting around cover with the rifle and all that kind of stuff. And I just learned a lot of stuff that I need to practice and get good at. And so what I'll do is I'll just run through most of those drills at home, uh, with it not loaded, and learn how to switch shoulders and just build that muscle memory, and then it comes natural to you. It's really hard when you train and they tell you, like, no, you don't want to do that. You want to do it like this and this and this. And you hear them and you're thinking, do this, this, and this. But your body is just so used to doing it the other way that it still does it the other way. The only way to overcome that is to slow down and really think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and then repeat that process over and over and over and over and over again until you build up that new muscle memory. It's almost easier, I think, to go to training and learn how to shoot if you've never shot before, because you don't have any muscle memory you're dealing with. When you've been doing things a certain way for a long time, you just have a tendency to default to that way of doing it. And even though you know you're supposed to do certain things, you just fumble them when you're out there on the range training. But I'll keep working through it and keep building that muscle memory and getting used to it, and just handle it. Um, and I really got to work on my draw for my handgun. I have a tendency to bring my gun up and then put my supporting hand out to it, like out here. And I really need to work on bringing my gun up, joining my hands, and then pushing it out, right? And so I got to work on that too. Um, so I know I come away from every single training I do with a lot of stuff that I need to work on. So I got one more training class on this Thursday because they rescheduled it from last month. And then I'm going to be done with training. I'm going to have a whole list of pile of stuff that I need to practice over the winter. And then I'll take a couple more training classes. It's almost like you feel like you're getting better, you're hitting the target better, you're holding the gun better, and then you go to the next level of class and you realize how bad you still suck, right? And then you work on that and you practice it and you get good with those few things, shooting offhanded and everything. Think, man, I'm doing good. And you go to the next class and it's a whole new level of suck. So, at least for me, it is. And I'm just an old fat dude that's trying. I'm not, former military Navy SEAL and all that stuff. I'm just a poor old fat network engineer slash mechanic that is trying. So I mean, training is it's one of those things. I'm a fat older guy, bad knees, and I can't run very fast, and I can't do everything. It's not been an issue. If they want you to get down on your knees and you don't want to, you just tell them, like, no, I'm not getting down on my knees. I'm just gonna go up there and kind of crouch down, and they're fine with that. They're fine. We're 100% fine with it. They want you to do the best you can do for who you are. And if you're a fat older guy that has bad knees, they're fine with that. They just want you to do the best you can. If you're half blind and you just can't see that little tiny circle to shoot at it, and you're shooting around it, you just tell them, like, look, I'm half blind. I can't see the target. That's as good as I can do. It's weird that you give me a little tiny dot to aim at 10 yards and I'll hit all around it. But you give me a bigger target, a bigger red spot, and I know that X is in the middle, and I can see the red around my target, around my sights, I'll put it right in the middle. It just is what it is. It's how my eyes work. So, you know, but it's never too late to start learning and get out there and do what you can. And it's a ton of fun. It really is. It is fun to get out there and push yourself further than you've done before and to learn. And what I'm finding is, like, sometimes in training, you're like, oh my gosh, they want us to do that. oh, crap, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know. And you're like, I'm just gonna give it a shot. And if I mess it up, I look stupid. I mess it up when I look stupid, but I'm gonna have fun and I'm gonna learn something. Um, they had a guy. Well, there was a guy there who was like, oh, I topped off my magazine and my rifle, even though they said we weren't supposed to, so that I didn't end up having to reload or switch to my handgun while we were running that drill. And I'm thinking, like, I'm loading my magazines with 10 rounds apiece because I want to reload, because I want to get good at it and learn what my deficiencies are when I'm under stress. And I want to transition to my handgun and then go for cover, reload the rifle, go back to rifle. I want to figure those things out. Training is the place that you're supposed to look stupid, right? You're supposed to look stupid when you train, and you're supposed to figure out and fumble everything and then get told how to do it right and still end up fumbling it because your muscle memory's not there yet. And you take all that stuff home and you practice it and then you go back to training in a few months, take the same class or a different class, but take a class and build all and see if all those skills and that muscle memory you built has worked out. And there's guys there that have been shooting a lot longer and a lot harder and taking a lot more training than I have. And I don't know. I just do the best I can. you know, I just do the best I can. Um, but that's all I got, folks. I'll talk to y'all later. This is Tom, your frugal prepper.